Old friend, before your mind rushes to dismiss me as another voice offering promises too good to be true, I want you to remember something. You entered this world not with a thought, not with a word, but with a breath. That first inhale was the announcement of your soul's arrival into matter, a rhythm etched into your being long before you learned how to build houses, raise children, or carry the weight of responsibility on your back. And yet, here you are, more than 6 decades later, living mostly as if that breath is nothing more than oxygen exchange, a background function to keep the machine alive. But I tell you, it was never meant to be that shallow. Each of your 23,000 breaths a day is a command issued to the field around you, an instruction written into the fabric of reality itself. You may not have known this, but ignorance does not cancel its truth. What you call survival breathing is actually a kind of unconscious broadcasting, and you've been doing it every day, sometimes writing harmony into your surroundings, sometimes writing chaos. Have you ever noticed how you can walk into a room and immediately sense unease, even when no one speaks a word? That's not superstition. That's the field picking up incoherent breathing patterns, electromagnetic chaos radiating from someone's nervous system. And when your own breath is shallow, rapid, and unsteady, you are one of those transmitters of chaos, whether you intend it or not. Let me provoke you here. You have spent years trying to rearrange circumstances on the outside, jobs, money, relationships, thinking each new move would deliver peace. But all the while, your breath was whispering a different command to the universe. Anxiety, scarcity, unrest. No wonder the walls kept closing in. You thought it was bad luck or poor timing, when in fact you were the one setting the script 23,000 times a day without ever realizing it. Science has finally caught up to what the ancients already knew. Biophysicists like Fritz Albert Popp proved that your cells emit light, biophotons, streaming out of you in measurable quantities. When you are coherent, when your breath aligns your body, these light emissions become organized, laser-like, focused. But when you are stressed, when your breathing is erratic, the light scatters, disorganized, like static flooding the airwaves. The ancients didn't talk about breathing the light body as poetry. They spoke literally. They understood that breath conducts light, and light is information. Think about that for a moment. Every inhale and exhale is a piece of data being written into the quantum field. The question is not whether you're writing, but whether you are writing consciously or letting old patterns of fear and fatigue dictate the script. And let me speak plainly, men in their 60s know about fatigue. You've carried burdens longer than you thought possible. You've swallowed disappointment, tightened your jaw, kept moving when the weight in your chest felt like a boulder you couldn't drop. That tightness you felt in your shoulders, that armor around your heart, that knot in your gut that sometimes wakes you in the night. It's not random. It's the body keeping score of every moment you held your breath instead of releasing your truth, every conflict you endured in silence, every loss you never fully grieved. Those places are not weaknesses. They are records. Your body has been scribing your history with every shallow breath. And now, whether you realize it or not, those same breathing patterns are teaching your children and grandchildren how to carry life. Anxiety and fear are not only learned by watching behavior, they are written into breath, into DNA, into the very rhythm of the family system. You may think you've hidden your struggles, but your breath has been teaching all along. Here's the radical truth. When you begin to breathe with awareness, you do not just heal yourself. You heal backward and forward through time. Conscious breath sends resonance into the lineage, dissolving what your parents and grandparents carried, and clearing the way for those who come after you. This isn't romantic language, it's epigenetics. Trauma imprints on biology, and breath is the bridge that rewrites it. Don't mistake me. This isn't about controlling breath like a soldier drilling in formation. It's about presence. Most of your life you've been breathing in what I call automated mode. Shallow chest breathing that signals your nervous system to stay in survival. That kind of breathing keeps you in fight or flight, always scanning for the next threat, never fully at rest. And yet, when you stop, really stop, and allow yourself to notice the pauses between breaths, something begins to change. Those gaps, those fractions of a second between inhale and exhale, are not empty. They are doorways. The Egyptian initiates knew this. They called it resting in the silence of Ra, the place where creation waits to be commanded. Modern quantum physics calls it superposition, the moment when all possibilities exist before one becomes real. And you, by simple awareness of that pause, become the observer that chooses. You've had glimpses of this. Remember those seconds during a car accident when time seemed to slow and every detail was crystal clear? Or those quiet moments with a lover when hours dissolved into what felt like minutes? That wasn't an illusion. That was you slipping into the quantum gap. And the same portal exists in every single breath you take. You don't need incense, robes, or 10-day retreats to access it. You need presence. A man who has worked, struggled, and aged in a society that tells him worth is measured by productivity may scoff at the idea that stillness is the most powerful force he can cultivate. But think about the mountain. Still, unmoving, and yet it organizes rivers, weather, entire ecosystems around its presence. That is the power of stillness accessed through breath. It doesn't fight. It doesn't chase. It simply is, and in its being, reality organizes itself. This is the invitation. Stop broadcasting chaos unconsciously. Stop living as though breath is just biology. Begin treating it as the scribe of your reality, the conductor of your cellular light, the teacher of your lineage. Start small. 5 minutes a day. Place your attention on the space between breaths. Don't force. Don't stretch. Just notice. In that simple act, you reclaim the power you've been giving away for decades. You've lived long enough to know that the world won't change simply because you try harder. But the world will change as your breath changes, because your breath writes directly into the fabric of the field. The only real question left is this. Will you continue writing unconsciously, or will you finally claim your role as the scribe of your own existence? I, Thoth, tell you the truth. The first breath you took announced your arrival into this life, and every breath since has been shaping it. It is time, old friend, to shape it consciously. Old friend, let me meet you where you are, because by now you've already lived through the rise and fall of more seasons than you care to count. And you've heard enough empty promises to know when someone is trying to sell you comfort in a bottle. I'm not here to sell you anything. I am here to remind you of something you've forgotten but that your body has been whispering to you all along. You think of your breath as a small thing, a background rhythm like the ticking of a clock in another room. You forget it until it stops you short, in moments of panic, in restless nights when your chest feels tight. But I tell you plainly, your breath is not background. It is the scriptwriter of your life. In the last chapter, I pulled back the curtain to show you how each unconscious breath broadcasts chaos or coherence. Now I want to hand you the keys to reclaim that script. I call it the Observer Breath, and it is less a technique than a return to what you've always been capable of. Think of it as 4 stages but not rigid steps carved into stone. They are movements of consciousness like seasons. The first stage is dissolving the old patterns. And here's where you might bristle, because you've spent decades learning to carry your pain like armor, and some part of you may still believe that holding onto it makes you stronger. But strength isn't about how long you can carry the weight. Strength is about knowing when to finally set it down. When you begin to breathe with awareness, you will feel those tight places in your body. The shoulders locked like a vice, the chest wrapped in invisible steel, the gut twisted into knots about futures that may never come. You've lived with these sensations for so long you call them normal. They are not normal. They are unprocessed history. Each conscious inhale is a crowbar loosening those bolts. Each exhale is a release of burdens that were never truly yours. Don't force it. Don't try to fix it. Just breathe and notice. Let your breath become the gentle demolition crew that clears the rubble. Once the rubble is cleared, the second stage begins, encoding new possibilities. This is where most men your age get tripped up, because you've been trained to think that manifesting is about willpower, about pushing reality into shape with your bare hands. But in truth, your breath is far more effective than your effort. Every pause between breaths is a fertile soil waiting for a seed. The mistake is filling that soil with wishful thinking. I want more money. I want my health back. I want respect. Those wishes are laced with lack. They tell the universe, I don't have this. Instead, breathe in the state you claim as already alive. At the pause, let the instruction rise like a certainty. This peace is present. This strength is real. This clarity exists. The field does not respond to begging. It responds to certainty. Your certainty doesn't come from shouting louder. It comes from breathing deeper. Stage 3 is anchoring. Anyone can have a fleeting experience of peace during a meditation retreat or a quiet morning walk. The real question is, can you hold it when the bills pile up, when the doctor calls, when your body aches in ways you never knew at 30? Anchoring means making your breath practice steady enough to withstand the noise of life. And don't pretend you don't have time. You have time to scroll, you have time to worry, you have time to rehearse old arguments in your head at 3 a.m. Take 5 of those minutes and breathe with awareness. Do it daily, and your nervous system will rewire itself. Neural pathways that have been locked in patterns for decades will begin to shift. The knots will loosen not because you fought them, but because you finally gave them space to dissolve. Anchoring is about consistency, not intensity. It's about showing up to your breath the way you once showed up to your work, day after day, even when no one applauded. The 4th stage is transmission. This is where the practice becomes bigger than you. Whether you like it or not, your breath doesn't stay in your lungs. Its electromagnetic signature radiates outwards, shaping the field around you. You know this is true because you've felt it. You've sat across from someone and instantly felt at ease, even when they said nothing. You've also felt the opposite, when someone's tension made you restless before a single word was spoken. That's breath transmission. Once you stabilize coherence in yourself, you become a tuning fork. Others will unconsciously align with your rhythm. You don't need to lecture or convince. Your very presence becomes an invitation for calm, for clarity, for possibility. That's not mystical fluff. Heart researchers have measured it. Children feel it most strongly because they haven't learned to ignore it. Your grandchildren will breathe differently around you if you practice this. Imagine that, breaking cycles that have haunted your lineage for generations, not by preaching, but by breathing. I know part of you resists this. You want to say, I've survived just fine without all this. But survival is not the same as living. You didn't make it past 60 just to keep surviving. You are here because your breath is offering you a chance to participate in a deeper creation. One that doesn't leave you exhausted. One that doesn't demand you prove your worth every day with endless doing. There is a difference between control and alignment. Control is what you've been taught to chase. It is exhausting because it pits you against life's current. Alignment is what happens when your breath is coherent. You stop fighting the river, and you let it carry you not aimlessly, but with the quiet authority of one who knows where he belongs. This is what the ancients knew. They weren't fantasizing when they spoke of breath as divine. The Egyptians mapped the body as a temple, each breath a key unlocking hidden chambers of awareness. The yogis called it prana, not just air but life force, consciousness in motion. The Hebrews called it ruach, the living spirit. They weren't speaking in metaphors. They were pointing to the same truth. Breath is the bridge between the visible and invisible, between your tired body and the infinite field of possibilities. And you, old friend, have the chance to reclaim that bridge. You don't need robes, you don't need gurus. You need presence. Start simple. 5 minutes of observing the pause between breaths. That is the doorway. In those pauses, the chatter of your mind softens. The endless commentary, I should have done this, I need to do that, loses its grip. In the silence, intention clarifies. Not desperation, but certainty. This is where creation begins, not from effort but from alignment. And here's the most radical truth I can give you. When you breathe consciously, you are not just healing yourself. You are participating in the healing of human consciousness itself. Each coherent breath you take adds to a tipping point, a critical mass where collective reality begins to shift. Call it the great purification, call it a phase transition, call it the awakening, it doesn't matter. What matters is this: you are part of it. Every conscious breath is a vote for the world you want to live in, not just for yourself but for everyone. Don't underestimate your power. You've been taught to measure yourself by what you've built, earned, or achieved. But your true contribution is in the frequency you broadcast with every breath. That is the legacy that will ripple long after you are gone. You can choose to keep writing the same story of scarcity and struggle, or you can become the scribe of coherence, of peace, of wisdom. The mountain does not prove its power by moving. It proves it by remaining still, by allowing the world to reorganize around it. You, too, can become that mountain. Your breath is the path. Breathe with awareness. Rest in the pauses. Anchor coherence. Transmit peace. This is how you transform, not through force, but through presence. And in doing so, you transform not only your own life but the reality field of everyone you touch. I have watched humanity forget this again and again, but I also know that one man remembering can change the course of generations. Why not let that man be you?